brilliant actors, cult figures in New York theater, Dion Allen, Al Collins, Roy Poole, Seda Stewart Thompson, and Nancy Wickwire. I was struck by lightning. 2 weeks later, Dylan Thomas again performed under Milkwood at the 92nd Street Y. I got a seat front row center. It was too close, and I developed a pain in my neck from looking directly up. Thomas towered over me on the stage, and the cast of performers in bright white lights were overwhelming. But it was still a great performance. His breath and internal winds created heat, and as he perspired, sweat ran in droplets. When he threw his arms around, drops of his sweat swirled about, and some flew out into the audience. One hit me. A blessing. Holy Communion. I was anointed. He was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. Not only were the poem and the performance great, he was poetry. This experience changed my life. It resonated with the boundless possibilities of what poetry could be. I was a poet, and developed as a performer over the next 50 years, empowered first by Dylan Thomas. After the performance, I bought 2 albums of Thomas's poetry, released by Seedman Records. I played them endlessly in my bedroom, fascinated and obsessed, trying to understand and absorb something. All the other poetry I knew was archaic. This was before Burroughs, Ginsberg, and the Beats. I was imprisoned in the Stone Age of the early 1950s. In the fall of 1953, Dylan Thomas returned for yet another performance of Under Milkwood at the 92nd Street Y. I got 5th row center seats and took my girlfriend, Marion Eisenberg. By now, I was becoming an expert in the subtleties of Dylan Thomas's performances. During the intermission, we were in the lobby smoking cigarettes and ran into friends from the High School for the Performing Arts, where Marion was studying acting. One of her classmates was Suzanne Plachette, who very shortly would become a famous movie star. We were all 16 years old. "It's very well produced," said Marion confidently. "The flow is extraordinary," said Suzanne. They were both being modest professionals. "It's so amazing," I said. "I've seen it twice before, but each time it is so shocking. It's dazzling poetry." When the lights blinked, I had to go to the toilet and ran as fast as I could. I didn't want to miss anything. I pulled the bathroom door open at full speed, lurched forward, and collided with a man. My face hit his fat face, my chest against his chest, cheek to cheek for an instant. It was Dylan Thomas. I froze, wide-eyed and speechless. I stepped back, bowed shyly, and said in a tight little voice, "Hello." Dylan Thomas gave a small, wonderful smile and said hello softly in return. He continued on to the backstage door. I went back to my seat, transfixed. I felt he had reluctantly kissed me. I was blessed with a touch of his skin. The rest of the performance was like listening to great music, and I sat there in bliss. Thomas died 2 weeks later. As a teenager, I received all my spiritual training from reading great novels and poetry. I read Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Beckett, Jean Genet, Proust, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Virginia Woolf, Joseph Conrad, Emily Dickinson, Faulkner, Walt Whitman, Gertrude Stein, and T.S. Eliot. They said, in a nutshell, that one was doomed in a world bound by ignorance, and the only way to liberation was through love and sex, pure transcendent desire. And that always ended in disaster. Everything ended in suffering. I received a full transmission of worldly knowledge by the time I was 17, and what I learned when I later studied at Columbia was redundant. There I read Plato and Aristotle through to Thomas Aquinas and Machiavelli, Locke and Hume and Burke, Darwin and Marx, Nietzsche and Thomas Dewey. None of it did any good. Nothing solved the problem. I studied Buddhist philosophy, Asian literature and Oriental art, discursive and intellectual thought, and we had endless discussions. I liked it, but it did not solve anything either. Many years later, Dudjom Rinpoche, the greatest Buddhist scholar of his time, would say, "No one becomes enlightened reading a book." I would have to wait my time.